is Conor McGregor. It seemed like he was doing his own thing in Manchester. He was making some cryptic comments about the UFC. You acknowledged them in Denver around that card, and saying that if he wanted to try and move forward in any kind of promotion of a fight, it would be an epic fall for him, or the words that you used. It sounds like you two have spoken since then. Is that correct? Have you spoken to Conor? How frequently? How recently? And what are those conversations like?
We haven't talked since then. We haven't talked. We haven't talked since then.
What can you tell us about the situation? It seems like we're kind of left. I do this podcast every week, and it seems like every week we're talking about what is Conor doing? What does this headline mean? What does that headline mean? How real is this Floyd Mayweather thing? Dana White's offering them money to do it in the UFC now and promote the fight, or at least co-promote a boxing match. What is all of this? Can you break it down?
What happened was Floyd said that he had made offers and all this other stuff, and I said, no, he hasn't. Floyd hasn't made any offers. That's a crock of shit. And I said, here's a real offer. So I laid out the first offer.
And then how do you interpret what he said since? And what did your comment mean in Denver?
Who said since?
Well, when Conor during his interview said that.
What do you mean? What do I mean by it? Come on. Know exactly what I mean by it.
Yeah, so I guess
you know what I mean. You know exactly what I mean, and you know exactly what was said and done, and it is where it is right now. He came out and said, I can do this without them. I guarantee you, he can't do it without us. And what I said was, I've always been respectful of Conor and the things he wants to do and everything else. But if he wants to go down that road, it will be an epic fall. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows exactly what that means. I don't think anything else needs to be said. That's it.
Sure. Yeah. I think last question I'll ask on this topic is, I think what's on most people's minds is, why can't you just talk about it to each other, and why do you think that takes place? Do you think it's just, is Conor difficult? Are you busy working on other stuff? And why not, if this situation is kind of out in the public, why do you think you guys haven't talked about it personally?
There's nothing really to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. Conor McGregor is under contract with the UFC. And, we will make him, he's out on maternity leave right now. And after his girl has the baby, we'll offer him another fight.
I think that is all the questions I got for you, except for, one curveball here. In the summer of 2016, so last summer, you said, I promise you one day the Fertittas will own an NFL team. And, recently there's been some developments with the Raiders in Las Vegas, and, there's been some money withdrawn, and it looks like they need some more funds coming from some kind of investor. And, Cowboy Cerrone's quote came to mind. If you're looking for a football fan with a little bit of money to invest, I know a guy. How close is Lorenzo Fertitta to owning an NFL team or getting involved in the NFL?
I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that. They will absolutely, positively own a team someday. And I don't know if they'd go in for a piece. I think if those guys are going to go in, they're going to go all in. Yeah. They're not the be a partner or silent partner kind of guys. They would. I think if they went into the NFL, they'd go all the way. But honestly, don't know the answer to that. I mean, if Lorenzo's out there making moves right now with the Raiders, which I don't believe he is, I don't know about it. What's funny is last night I was here. He called me, and I was in the shower, and when I got out, I hit him back, and he texted me, "I'm in this meeting. I'll call you as soon as I get out. I need to talk to you." And then I never talked to him again.
I mean, is that kind of do you guys have those kind of conversations every day? That, hey, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you back, or is this gives you reason to think that he was in a kind of an important meeting there?
We talk 3 times a week. Yeah, it was weird that he was in a meeting and needed to talk to me about something, but I don't know. It couldn't have been too important, or he would have called me back.
Huh. Well, I guess I'll check back with you on that on Saturday and see if you've heard back from Lorenzo. And we'll be asking you a lot about, of course, what happens at UFC 208. 2 really good, I think, main and co-main events. This is one of those cards where I don't know who's going to win either of those top 2 fights. Usually I think I have a prediction or an idea of the way the fight's going to go. I think both of those could really go either way. And those are, to me, those are the best fights to watch. So we're looking forward to UFC 208. Well, let's get right to it. You know, this main event, it's a historic main event. It's a 145-pound female fight between Holly Holm and Germaine de Randamie. I got to see these two at the open workouts in Brooklyn yesterday, and I'll just tell you that, you know, I've been through a lot of fight weeks. I like to get the sense of, you know, fighters, their confidence level, how they're feeling, you know, if they're feeling any nerves the week of the fight. I got to say, Germaine de Randamie, and I know that this is just kind of her personality, but she is coming into this fight, it feels like, with absolutely nothing to lose. This was not necessarily an opportunity that she, you know, had seen coming on the horizon. She jumped at it, and she's very loose. Meanwhile, I think Holly Holm is feeling just a little bit of pressure because she's coming off of that 2-fight losing streak. She doesn't want her career to be defined by that win over Ronda Rousey. Is that sort of what you've sensed out of these two as well?
Yeah, I mean, if you watched, you know, UFC Embedded, Germaine is having fun. She just seems like she's having a blast, and you know, it's an interesting fight. I mean, two of the most decorated, you know, female strikers in the UFC. I'm looking forward to this fight. This fight should be fun.
Yeah, and, you know, we know that one of your favorite sayings is, we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see how this plays out. We'll see what happens. You know, don't predict the future too much. But you're going into, as I mentioned, the first ever 145-pound female fight. A lot of us are sitting here thinking to ourselves, like, there's not really a division. This is just a 145-pound fight. There's no division after it. I know that you're approaching this as, we will see what happens, but do those words ring true even more so than usual? I mean, do you really not know what's going to happen with this 145-pound division beyond Saturday night?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we did this thing for we did this thing for I got Mickey Gall calling me on the phone right now. I have to give it to my guy. So we did this thing, obviously, because Cyborg was freaking out and didn't want to make, you know, 135 or 140. So we pulled the trigger. Then the stuff goes down with her and USADA, which is actually looking really good now, by the way. Apparently, the three things that she has is what this medicine is used for. So it's looking really good. So it was looking bad for a minute. Now it's looking better. So we're in a good place. This fight's going to happen, and I truly believe that whoever wins this title on Saturday night will fight Cyborg for the title. Then from there, you know, you make another fight, you do this, and slowly but surely you start to build a division. Normally we're more, you know, things are more thought out, things are more planned out. For instance, we took that whole 115-pound division from Invicta, right? We bring them in, we put them on the Ultimate Fighter, and we crown a champion right there. You know,
Yep.
That's normally how we do things and how things are planned out, but this wasn't. So this is all a work in progress, and we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of a godsend, I got to believe, if Chris's situation has improved as you say it has. You know, and this is a story I've been following as well. You know, as she tested positive for the banned substance in December. What are you hearing from her camp? And I know that this is difficult sometimes when you're talking about medical records, but why all of a sudden a little bit of optimism that you might get Chris back sooner rather than later?
Well, everything that I just said, the drug that she had taken, yeah, she should have immediately let USADA know about it. But, you know, it's legit. She legitimately has these three separate issues, and that's what that drug is used for. And the doctors are saying it, and it's looking good for her. So
yeah.
I like it.
Well,
I like it a lot.
Well,
and you have Amanda Nunes, who has said, you know, I would love to move. You know, obviously she's got to defend her title a couple times, at least. And she's saying she would love to move up and like to fight for that title too. So, it's going to get interesting. We'll see how this thing plays out. And like I said, it's all a work in progress.
Well, if Chris Cyborg does get cleared and you know, she avoids the suspension, she's able to come back, you know, let's just say this summer sometime. Are we positive that the winner of this fight wants to fight Chris Cyborg? I know that that's sort of how this fight came together, is that Holly was in negotiations about potentially facing her. Germaine, you know, was also in discussions about potentially facing her. But it also seems like when you talk to these two women, they both continue to mention bantamweight. You know, I'm not done with bantamweight. I still have a future in bantamweight. Are you pretty confident that whoever wins the title wants to be the featherweight champion and face Chris Cyborg this summer?
Again, we'll have to see how things look. But yeah, I mean, why would you not want to face Chris Cyborg, especially if you're Holly. You already held that title, and you had 18 titles in boxing. And if she could go in and she could beat Chris Cyborg, I tell you this: I offered her the fight with Chris Cyborg, and Holly was pumped. She wanted that fight and everything else. Holly's camp, which is notorious for doing these type of things, didn't like the fight. So there's how that goes. But those guys are notorious for doing that. Notorious. Listen, if you have your champion and you believe in her, I don't know how you would ever tell anybody not to take a fight. But whatever. That's what those guys do.
Well, taking your words, we'll have to see how this thing plays out. Let's move on to the co-main event: Anderson Silva versus Derek Brunson. I mean, always a pleasure to watch Anderson Silva fight, of course. How did this fight come together? Because I've been in discussions with his management. Where's Anderson? What's the latest? What's he doing? He was off in China filming a movie, and then all of a sudden he comes back and boom, he's got a fight immediately. Yeah. Let's switch gears real quick and look at a heavyweight title fight that the UFC just recently announced in May in Dallas. UFC 211 is going to be Stipe Miocic versus Junior Dos Santos, a rematch of a fight we saw in 2014, a great fight. I was there ringside. I've said it before. It was just one of those fights where you couldn't believe that it went 5 rounds. You're saying to the people around you after the first round, well, this thing's going to end very quickly, and then went the whole 25 minutes. How did you arrive at this one? Because I do think it caught some people by surprise that Junior was able to sneak his way up into a title fight right away.
Sneak his way up. Who do you think should have got the title fight before him?
Well, he'd had some injury issues, and he's only 1-1 since that win over Stipe. I think a lot of people were looking at Verdum, but Verdum, is, as you mentioned at UFC 207, was declining some fights. Is that kind of what happened here? Is that Verdum was sitting on the side, and Junior took an opportunity?
Verdum was turning down fights we were offering him, and Verdum has never been what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know. He's tough to deal with, and he was turning down fights. Junior Dos Santos is ready to roll, wants to fight, and always is willing to fight. So he got the fight.
Yeah, and then a report comes out of Brazil that they're targeting Verdum to fight Ben Rothwell on the same night at UFC 211. Can you confirm that yet? Has that been a targeted fight, or is it still in negotiations?
Yeah, I don't know where that's at. It's true, but I don't know where that's at.
Okay. Let's talk about another Brazilian, Jose Aldo, another guy we haven't seen for a little bit, and people are wondering where he's at. This is we're here at UFC 208 in Brooklyn, February 11th. I think everybody knows that it was a possibility that he was going to be fighting on this card. He's not. When are we going to see Jose Aldo again, and who's it going to be against?
Well, he's going to fight Max Holloway. That fight's done too. I don't remember what date it's on for, but yeah, it's done.
Wow. Is there anybody we can ask? Is there a way to get an answer to this question real quick? When's that thing going down?
No, nobody around me here to tell me that, but it's a done deal. We got that fight done. We got that fight done last week.
Well, that's a fantastic fight. I know we're looking way ahead now. We don't even know what card this fight's going to take place on, but what do you think of that matchup?
I like it. It's fun. That's a fun.